Be me, 26 years old, existing in a permanent state of mild dissociation. Current location, the wage cage. It's a 6x6 beige purgatory where dreams go to die and spreadsheets multiply like bacteria. The fluorescent lights hum constantly above my head. It sounds like a dying refrigerator and gives me a migraine by 11 a.m. every single day. I survive entirely on pure, unadulterated spite and the dregs of the break room coffee pot. The coffee tastes like battery acid and burnt hair. I drink 4 cups a day just to feel something. My daily routine consists of clicking random cells in Excel to look busy. In reality, I spend 80% of my shift scrolling Reddit and plotting my escape. I have no escape plan. Enter my boss, Veronica. You know the exact type. Late 20s, immaculate pantsuits, zero visible body fat. She runs purely on espresso and the suffering of her subordinates. She is the branch manager. She is a ruthless corporate shark. If you cut her, she bleeds quarterly projections. And synergy. I hear the rhythmic clack, clack, clack of her expensive stilettos hitting the linoleum. It's the sound of impending doom. I quickly minimize my browser and pull up a random pivot table. She stops directly at my cubicle. The temperature drops by 10 degrees. I look up. She's staring at me like I'm a clogged toilet. Anon, your Q3 reports are bordering on fiction, she says. Her voice is ice cold. And you're 3 days late. I mumble some pathetic excuse about macro errors. She sighs. It's a heavy theatrical sigh of a woman burdened by my absolute uselessness. She doesn't even bother yelling. I am beneath yelling. To her, I am nothing but a lazy, irritating stain on her flawless efficiency metrics. She taps a manicured nail on my partition. Just fix it before Friday, she snaps, turning on her heel. I watch her storm off back to her corner office, leaving a trail of expensive perfume and terror. I hate her. She hates me. This is the natural order of the universe. Fast forward to 4:45 p.m. 15 minutes until freedom. An email notification pops up on my screen. It's tagged with high importance and sent to the entire department. Sender, Veronica. Subject line, mandatory team building weekend retreat. My blood runs cold. A weekend. A whole goddamn weekend stolen from my miserable life. I open the email, my eyes skimming over the horrific buzzwords. Fostering synergy, trust fall seminars, collaborative growth. It's at some remote hotel 2 hours out of the city. Complete nightmare. I'm about to slam my keyboard and quit on the spot. But then my eyes catch a beautiful, shining phrase at the bottom of the itinerary. Complimentary open bar at the evening mixer. I pause. An open bar on the company dime. I look over at Veronica's office where she's furiously typing, probably ruining someone else's day. Fine. If I have to endure 48 hours of corporate brainwashing, I am going to drink this company into bankruptcy. I pack my bag. The retreat starts Friday night. What's the worst that could happen? Arrive at the Pines Wellness Resort. It's a repurposed 80s motel with a fresh coat of beige paint and a synergy banner. The first seminar starts at 7 p.m. I decide to host my own private seminar, Advanced Liver Failure. I sneak 3 mini bottles of cheap vodka into the goal-setting workshop. I'm tipsy before the first icebreaker. We have to do trust falls in the ballroom. I fall. Nobody catches me. I hit the industrial carpet with a dull thud. My coworkers laugh. Veronica looks at me like I'm a particularly disappointing larva. Finally, the open bar opens. It's like unleashing a locust on a wheat field. I am the locust. The top shelf gin is the wheat. I've consumed more value in booze than my quarterly salary in 2 hours. By 1 a.m., the world is spinning in 4K resolution. I need ice to numb the shame and the burning in my throat. I stumble toward the hallway ice machine, bouncing off the floral. Wallpaper, clatter, clatter, clatter. A shadow looms over the plastic bucket. It's Veronica. The armor is gone, no blazer, hair messy. She's holding a glass of neat tequila and looks like she's been staring into the abyss. Anon, she slurs. The Ice Queen has a melting point, and apparently, it's 100 proof. She starts venting. I can't stop her. Turns out her long-term boyfriend dumped her via LinkedIn message last week. She's talking about biological clocks and her mother calling her a cold, career-obsessed failure. She's crying. Real salty human tears. I should leave. I should run back to my room and lock the door. Instead, I offer her a sip of my water bottle. The tension in the hallway is thick enough to choke a horse. I don't even remember how we got to my room. It's a frantic, desperate collision of two people who fundamentally hate their lives. The bed vibrates when you put a quarter in it. We didn't even need the quarter. I wake up at 6 a.m. to the sound of a jackhammer inside my skull. The sunlight hitting the curtains is an offensive weapon. I turn over, praying I'm alone. Veronica is staring at the ceiling, looking like she just witnessed a war crime. She looks at me. I look at her. The mutual disgust is visceral. "If you ever mention this," she whispers, her voice trembling with cold fury, "I will personally ensure you never work in this hemisphere again." I nod. My brain feels like loose gravel. She gathers her heels and vanishes into the hallway like a ghost. I lay there in the silence, staring at a stain on the ceiling. The retreat isn't over. I still have to face her in the collaborative growth meeting in 3 hours. Monday morning is going to be a bloodbath. Monday morning arrives like a lead weight. I walk into the office with a headache that could kill a horse. Veronica is already there, glowing with malevolent efficiency. She doesn't even look up as I pass her glass walls. My inbox pings at 9:02 a.m. I need the Q4. Projections by lunch. Don't be late. The workload is double what it was on Friday. She's micromanaging every single keystroke. Every time I get a glass of water, she's hovering behind me. She critiques my font choice in internal emails. She critiques my stapling technique on the weekly memos. She's trying to drown me in paperwork until I simply vanish. I'm convinced this is the exit strategy. She wants the only witness to her weekend lapse in judgment deleted from the payroll. I spend my lunch break on my phone, hiding in a cramped bathroom stall. I'm panic applying to anything that pays enough for rent and ramen. Logistics specialist sounds better than man-child who ruined his career in a motel. I apply for a job at a pet crematorium. I apply for a position as a night shift gas station attendant. Anything to get away from the frostbite in the office air. Tuesday is a marathon of misery and redundant spreadsheets. Wednesday, she makes me redo an audit 3 times because of vibe issues. The coworkers are starting to whisper and point. They think she's finally found a valid reason to execute my employment. I'm a dead man walking in a beige cubicle. Thursday arrives, and the tension is a physical weight in the hallway. I can feel her eyes through the glass every time I move my mouse. I've already packed my favorite coffee mug in my backpack. I'm just waiting for the security guards to appear with a cardboard box. 4:55 p.m. The office is clearing out as people head for the elevators. The intercom on my desk crackles with sharp static. "Anon, my office, now." Her voice sounds wrong, brittle. I stand up, my legs feeling like wet noodles. I walk past the empty desks of the people who actually have futures. I enter the corner office, smelling the expensive mahogany and her perfume. Veronica is standing by the window, her back turned to the door. She rounds the desk with mechanical, jerky movements. She reaches back and clicks the heavy lock. On the door, my heart does a frantic backflip in my chest. She reaches for the cord and snaps the blinds shut with a violent pull. The room goes dim, lit only by the cold blue light of her dual monitors. She's hyperventilating, her chest heaving under her silk blouse. Her face is pale, almost translucent in the artificial glow. She looks at me, and the Ice Queen facade is shattered into a million pieces. I don't see a manager anymore. I see a woman staring into the absolute literal abyss. Her expression is a cocktail of unhinged panic and pure, raw terror. She tries to speak, but her jaw just hitches and stalls. She grips the edge of her desk until her knuckles turn white as bone. The air in the room feels like it's being sucked out by a vacuum. "Anon," she finally chokes out, her voice trembling. She looks like she's about to either scream or vomit. Veronica reaches into her blazer pocket with a trembling hand. She slams a small plastic stick onto the mahogany desk. It slides across the polished wood and stops right in front of me. I stare down at the little window. A bright, mocking pink plus sign stares back. The silence in the office is heavy enough to crush bone. My brain initiates an emergency shutdown sequence. Windows XP startup sound, followed by an immediate blue screen of death. I can hear my own heartbeat thumping in my eardrums like a war drum. Veronica is hyperventilating now, clutching her stomach. "This wasn't on the roadmap, Anon," she whispers, her voice cracking. "This was not in the quarterly projections. This was not the plan." She starts pacing the small area behind her desk like a trapped predator. My VP track, my 5-year expansion strategy, my entire reputation. She looks at the ceiling, her eyes wide and glassy. It's all gone, deleted, overwritten by a weekend of tequila and bad decisions. I'm silently calculating the logistics of fleeing to a non-extradition country. Maybe I could change my name to Miguel and move to a remote village in the Andes. I could be a goat herder. I don't even like goats. I don't even speak Spanish. I look at her, then back at the stick on the desk. The retreat mistake has officially upgraded to a life-ending event. If the predatory ghouls in HR find out, we're both radioactive. Fraternization is a scorched earth offense in this building. She stops pacing and leans over the desk, inches from my face. Her perfume smells like expensive flowers and pure, unadulterated dread. "If you tell a single soul," she hisses, "I will bury you in the corporate parking lot." I finally find my voice, and it sounds like I've swallowed a handful of dry sand. "I'm the one who should be worried. You're the boss. You're the one with the power." She lets out a sharp, hysterical laugh that sounds like breaking glass. "Power? If this gets out, the board will have my head on a pike before Monday." The Ice Queen is gone, replaced by a desperate, panicked conspirator. She grabs the pregnancy test, and shoves it into a hidden compartment in her desk. She locks the drawer with a click that sounds like a prison cell closing. "We have to be smart," she says, wiping a stray tear with a sharp fingernail. "We act like nothing happened. Professionalism at 200%. No cracks in the facade." "Does that mean you'll stop making me redo the audits?" I ask, hopeful for a second. She glares at me with a flicker of her old soul-crushing intensity. "If I stop being a bitch to you, people will notice. Business as usual, Anon." I realize my life is now a high-stakes Cold War played out in a beige cubicle. We look at each other, two people who genuinely dislike each other, bound by biology. A miserable, covert alliance is forged in the dim light of the corner office. She reaches out and unlocks the heavy office door. "Get out." And I expect those Q4 projections on my desk by 8 a.m. I walk out of the office, my legs feeling like overcooked noodles. I pass the break room and see a flyer for the company daycare plan. I feel a sudden, violent urge to vomit. Monday morning begins with a 7:30 a.m. email from the abyss. "Anon, my office, now." I walk in, expecting a firing squad or a formal execution. She doesn't even look up from her screen, but her knuckles are white. She slides a post-it note across the mahogany with a time and an address. "Be there at 2 o'clock. Tell your team your car broke down, or your cat died." "I don't have a cat, Veronica." "Then get one and kill it. Just be there." I spend the morning crafting the perfect lie for my desk lead. I settle on a catastrophic radiator failure and practice looking appropriately inconvenienced. I sneak out the back exit like I'm smuggling contraband across a border. The OB/GYN waiting room is a special circle of hell. Placid piano music and posters of glowing, happy mothers staring into my soul. Veronica is sitting in the corner, wearing oversized sunglasses and a trench coat. She looks like she's waiting to drop a briefcase of microfilm in a Cold War thriller. We sit 3 chairs apart, pretending the other doesn't exist. The nurse calls her name, and she stands up with robotic, terrifying precision. I follow her into the exam room like a stray dog following a butcher. The silence is thick enough to choke on while the doctor preps the ultrasound. Then, the sound starts. A fast, rhythmic thumping that fills the small room like a gallop. For a split second, the Ice Queen melts. Her bottom lip trembles, and she stares at the grainy gray screen like it's a miracle. I feel a weird, heavy pressure in my chest that definitely isn't heartburn. Then the doctor leaves, and the mask slams back down instantly. "Not a word," she hisses, snatching the printouts. "Not a single pathetic word." Back at the office, the psychological warfare reaches a fever pitch. I'm in the supply closet 10 minutes later, ostensibly looking for legal pads. The door clicks shut and she's there, shoving the ultrasound into my hands. "Look at the measurements," she whispers, her eyes frantic. "Is it supposed to be that size?" "I don't know, Veronica. I'm a junior analyst, not a biologist." We're huddled under a flickering fluorescent light, smelling of toner and panic. I hear muffled voices and laughter from the hallway. It's Kyle from accounting and Dave from marketing. "Have you seen Anon lately?" Kyle asks, his voice dripping with condescension. "The guy is practically living in her pocket. Third car issue this week." "Total careerist," Dave agrees. "He's probably polishing her shoes under the desk for that promotion." "It's pathetic. Imagine having zero self-respect." I stare at the stacks of printer paper, my soul shriveling into a raisin. They think I'm a corporate sycophant, a world-class bootlicker. In reality, I'm an accomplice to a life-altering secret in a beige cubicle hell. The strain of the double life is starting to make my hair fall out in clumps. Every meeting is a minefield of hidden morning sickness and secret glances. I'm one more emergency root canal away from an HR intervention. Just as I think the day can't get any worse, Veronica's phone vibrates on the shelf. She looks at the screen, and her face goes from pale to translucent. "My parents," she whispers, her voice cracking for the first time. "They just landed. They're coming to the office for dinner." She looks me up and down, her eyes lingering on my thrift store tie and coffee stains. "Anon," she says, her voice dropping into a terrifyingly calm register. "How fast can you learn to lie about being a logistics consultant?" Panic mode, 10 out of 10. I'm digging through a Men's Warehouse discount bin at 5:30 p.m. The suit is 100% polyester and smells faintly of mothballs and forgotten dreams. The sleeves are an inch too long, making me look like a kid wearing his dad's clothes to court. Veronica meets me in the parking lot of the Gilded Lily. She looks like $1,000,000 in a silk maternity-friendly wrap dress. I look like a funeral director who lost his license. "If you stutter, I will end you," she whispers, aggressively straightening my tie. "Remember, you're an independent logistics consultant, high-end, niche. I optimize global supply chains for mid-market firms. Got it." We walk in. The air smells like aged steak and generational wealth. Her parents are already seated at a table that costs more than my car. Arthur looks like he owns a yacht named the CEO and has definitely killed a man in a boardroom. Eleanor looks like she's never seen a carb or a poor person in her entire life. They stare at me like I'm a cockroach that just learned to walk upright. "So," Arthur rumbles, his voice sounding like grinding gravel, "logistics." "Yes, sir. It's mostly just managing incompetence and moving boxes." I'm sweating through the polyester. It's starting to itch in places I can't scratch. "And what's your take on the current maritime trade bottleneck in the Suez?" My brain is a static-filled TV. I decide to lean into my natural state, bitterness. It's a clusterfuck, honestly. Everyone's a grifter and nothing arrives on time. Veronica goes stiff beside me. She's probably imagining my head on a pike. There's a long, terrifying silence where only the sound of a distant piano plays. Arthur suddenly bellows a laugh that shakes the crystal wine glasses. "Finally, a man who doesn't blow smoke up my ass." He slaps the table, nearly upending his Cabernet. Eleanor looks horrified. "I like this one, Veronica. He's got that bitter, realistic edge. No corporate fluff." Veronica looks like she's recalculating her entire life strategy in real time. For the next 2 hours, I just complain about the general state of the world. Arthur eats it up. To him, it's executive grit. To me, it's just a regular Tuesday of being a hater. "So, when's the wedding?" Eleanor asks, her voice like a paper cut. I nearly choke on a piece of $80 Wagyu beef. "Soon," Veronica says, her voice tight and high-pitched. "We're keeping it small." Arthur grabs my shoulder. His grip is like an industrial vice. "A man of your caliber deserves a proper celebration. I'll handle the venue." I'm officially trapped in a fictional marriage with the woman who hates me. We walk out to the valet, the parents waving from the back of a black Mercedes. "That went surprisingly well," I mutter, gasping for fresh air. "Shut up," she says, her face flushed with relief and lingering fury. "You're still a loser. Don't let it go to your head. Consultant." We don't notice the silver sedan parked across the street, or the faint glow of a smartphone camera through the tinted glass. Back at the office the next morning, the atmosphere is radioactive. Kyle from accounting gives me a look that could melt lead. "Nice suit last night, Anon. Didn't know logistics consultants frequented the Gilded Lily." I feel a cold pit form in my stomach. The office rumor mill isn't just churning, it's a Category 5 hurricane. We're in the break room arguing over the price of double strollers when the intercom crackles. Veronica Vance and Anon, please report to Human Resources immediately. The director of HR doesn't do casual chats. She only does career autopsies. The HR office is kept at a crisp 62 degrees. It smells like lavender-scented bleach and professional betrayal. Miss Sterling sits behind a desk that looks like it was carved from a single block of ice. She doesn't invite us to sit. She just slides a manila folder across the desk. Inside is a grainy photo of us at the Gilded Lily, and a transcript of our stroller debate by the water cooler. Article 4, Section B, Fraternization between management and subordinates. Sterling's voice is a monotone flatline. This is a terminal violation of company ethics. Veronica is vibrating. Her career, 10 years of 80-hour weeks and soul-crushing. Spreadsheets is redlining. If she's fired, the VP of operations dream dies today. The mortgage on her condo, the insurance, the elite daycare plans, all of it vanishes into the beige carpet. She opens her mouth to defend herself, but her voice hitches. I look at her, really look at her. She looks small, terrified, not like a boss, just a person. I realize I have nothing to lose but a cubicle and free bad coffee. She didn't do anything, I say, my voice louder than I intended. Sterling raises a perfectly manicured eyebrow. I've been harassing her for months, I lie. The words taste like copper and ash. The dinner, I showed up uninvited. I blackmailed her into the fiancé act. I'm the one who's been pushy. She was trying to manage the situation quietly. Veronica looks at me, her eyes wide, silent, and pleading. I see the relief wash over her, followed immediately by a wave of guilt. Sterling scribbles something on a form. The career autopsy is complete. Admission of predatory behavior and harassment. Noted. Veronica, you will receive a formal reprimand for not reporting this sooner. Anon, you are terminated, effective immediately, for cause. I sign the paper without reading it. My hand doesn't even shake. 10 minutes later, I'm at my desk with a single cardboard box. I pack my world's okayest employee mug and a half-eaten bag of Cheetos. Kyle from accounting watches from his cubicle, a smug grin plastered on his face. Security guards, 2 guys named Dave, who I used to talk sports with, stand over me. They escort me through the lobby like I'm a high-level corporate spy. The glass doors hiss shut behind me. It's 10:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. I'm standing on the sidewalk, holding a box of junk with no income. And somewhere in that building is the woman carrying my child. I check my bank balance on my phone. $200 and a dream. The reality of the situation hits me like a freight train. I'm not just a wage cage, survivor anymore. I'm an unemployed father-to-be, and I don't even know how to install a car seat. Day 14 of unemployment. My professional attire is now a pair of gray sweatpants with a mysterious bleach stain. The apartment smells like despair and unwashed dishes. My main hobby is refreshing job boards and getting ghosted by entry-level data entry firms. I am a professional loser. Currently, I am losing a fistfight with a piece of particle board. The IKEA Sniglar crib instructions have no words. Just a smug cartoon man pointing at a bolt that doesn't exist. I am being verbally abused by a manual. If you can't build a bed, how will you build a life? The cartoon man seems to mock. I throw the Allen key at the wall. It bounces off and hits me in the shin. I deserve this. The front door opens. Veronica trudges in, looking like she's carrying the weight of the entire S&P 500. Usually she'd bark at me for the mess. She'd call me a lazy parasite and demand a progress report. Instead, she looks at the half-finished crib and starts sobbing. Not a graceful cinematic cry. A full-on, snot-dripping, body-shaking wail. I can't do this, Anon, she gasps, dropping her $2,000 handbag on the sticky floor. The board is breathing down my neck. My ankles are the size of watermelons, and I'm going to be a terrible mother. I'm going to optimize our daughter's childhood into a nervous breakdown. I stand up, dusting wood shavings off my knees. Something in my brain clicks. The wage cage survival instinct pivots. I lead her to the couch and hand her a box of tissues. I go to the kitchen. I actually cook, not ramen. Real pasta with sauce from a jar that didn't have mold on it. For the next month, I become the ultimate house husband. I vacuum, I do laundry, I learn the difference between a swaddle and a sleep sack. She loses the sharp corporate edge. The shark becomes a human. She starts leaning on me, literally and figuratively. 3 a.m. in the living room. We're sitting on the floor because her back hurts too much for the chair. What if she hates us? She whispers, her head on my shoulder. She's a baby, Ronnie. Her standards are low, food and a clean butt. We're both disasters, she says, a small smile cracking the fatigue. Yeah, but we're disasters together. I realize I don't miss the cubicle. I don't miss the bad coffee or the spreadsheets. I actually like taking care of her. I'm broke, I'm disgraced, and I'm a pariah in the industry. But for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm not just taking up space. I finally finished the crib. It doesn't wobble. Much. We have 3 weeks until the due date. Time to relax, time to prepare. I sit down for a desperate sweatpants-clad Zoom interview for a $15 an hour gig. So, tell me about your gap in employment, the recruiter asks. Behind me, I hear a muffled thump followed by a splash. The sound of a gallon of water hitting the hardwood floor. Anon, Veronica's voice is high, tight, and absolutely terrified. My water just broke. Right now. It's happening now. The recruiter is still talking about synergy on my laptop screen. Veronica is clutching the doorframe, her face pale as a ghost. The plan just went out the window. I stare at the Zoom window. The recruiter's mouth is moving, talking about dynamic growth and synergy. Behind me, Veronica is standing in a puddle. She looks at me with eyes the size of dinner plates. Anon, hospital, now. I look at the screen. I look at the woman carrying my future. I slam the laptop lid shut. Career suicide, complete. I grab the pre-packed hospital bag. We stumble to the elevator. Veronica is breathing like she's trying to blow down a brick house. It's too early, Anon. It's supposed to be 3 weeks. The baby didn't get the memo, Ronnie. We reach my 2004 Honda Civic. The engine groans as it turns over. It smells like old fries and existential dread. I pull out of the lot like a getaway driver. Red lights are suggestions. Speed limits are myths. Veronica is crushing the oh shit handle with a white-knuckle grip. If you kill us before we get there, I'll fire you again, she screams. That's the boss I know and love. The hospital looms in the distance. I see the emergency room sign. I try to brake. My brake pads decide today is a good day to retire. Crunch. We hit a concrete bollard at 5 miles per hour. Airbags don't deploy because the car is a metal coffin. We're here, I yell, kicking the dented door open. Nurses swarm the car. Veronica is whisked away on a gurney. I'm running behind them in my bleach-stained sweatpants. We're in the delivery room. Bright lights, beeping machines, absolute chaos. A doctor tells me to hold her hand. I look down to get a better grip. There is a lot of blood, like a horror movie finale amount of blood. My vision starts to tunnel. The sound of the room fades into a high-pitched ring. The floor looks incredibly soft and inviting. Darkness. I blink. The ceiling is white and smells like bleach. I'm lying on a narrow cot in the corner. My head throbs like a drum. Then I hear it. A thin, sharp, indignant wail. I sit up, heart hammering against my ribs. Veronica is sitting in the hospital bed. She looks exhausted, messy, and human. She's holding a small, wrinkled pink bundle. She looks at me, and for once there's no ice in her eyes. "Wake up, you idiot," she whispers. "Meet your daughter." I look at the tiny human and realize I have no idea what comes next. Fast forward 3 years. I am knee-deep in brightly colored Duplo blocks, wearing sweatpants that have seen better decades. The television is blasting a cartoon about a talking sponge. I am exhausted. I am cynical. I am a stay-at-home dad. Veronica is currently in a glass boardroom in Tokyo, or maybe London. I lose track of the time zones. She finally sees that VP title. She dominates the corporate ladder with ruthless efficiency. She crushes quarterly earnings the same way she used to crush my soul. She brings home the massive 6-figure bacon. I mash the overpriced organic peas. It is a perfect ecosystem. I look around our ridiculously nice suburban living room. Absolutely none of this makes sense. I used to be a miserable wagecuck, trapped in a beige cubicle, surviving entirely on terrible break room coffee and internet spite. I raw-dogged a corporate mistake in a cheap hotel bed. I took the fall during a vicious HR inquisition. I got escorted out of a building with my life in a cardboard box. Ruining my completely worthless career was the best thing I ever did, because hitting rock bottom gave me the only real happiness I've ever known. I looked down at the tiny human sitting in my lap. She has Veronica's terrifyingly observant eyes. She has my chronically messy hair. She is clutching a stuffed dinosaur and demanding closure to the story. And that, I say, tapping her tiny nose, is How Daddy Met Mommy. Obviously, the story is heavily censored, strictly PG rated for toddler consumption. She doesn't need to know about the tequila-fueled blood oath, or the panic-inducing positive pregnancy test on a mahogany desk, or how Daddy passed out from the sight of blood in the delivery room. The bedtime version involves a magical office castle, and a very stressed-out princess who just needed to relax. She yawns, rubbing her eyes with tiny fists. "Did Mommy slay the HR dragon?" she mumbles. "She sure did, kiddo," I whisper. I lift her up and carry her to her bedroom. I tuck the pink blanket under her chin. "Now go to sleep, or I'm putting you on a performance improvement plan." She giggles, her eyes fluttering shut. I tiptoe out of the nursery like I'm navigating an active minefield. I collapse onto the living room couch. My joints pop in protest. My phone buzzes on the coffee table. A text from Veronica. "Merger closed. I crushed them. Miss my two favorite idiots." "Landing at 6 a.m., I reply, with a picture of the sleeping kid and a heart emoji. I lean back and stare at the ceiling. I have no income, no corporate ambition, and absolutely no regrets.